Welcome to Really Cool Stuff for the Home podcast, sponsored by HomeWerks. And now with today's show on all the ways to improve your home is your host, Denise Sanchez.
Good afternoon, everybody. So happy to be here. I'm Denise Sanchez, and I'm with HomeWerks, Really Cool Stuff for the Home, where we love to bring you wonderful products that make your homework better for you. And one of my favorite product lines is Miele. And we've done several podcasts now with Jeff Polucci, who is the National Sales Manager for the U.S., very knowledgeable, very, very funny. He's a lot of fun to be with. I've been in Amsterdam with him, in Munich, to name a few places. So I'm telling you, he's fun. But he's also extremely knowledgeable. And this week, we're going to talk about the refrigeration offerings that Miele has. And, you know, usually you don't think about refrigeration being cool. Haha, that's funny. Did you catch that one? Okay, a little lame. All right. But anyway, and for a European company at that, Jeff, to offer such a wide, a range of neat features and sizes, because usually in Europe, it's kind of like a secondary thing. They have a little bitty tiny fridge. They usually go out and they shop, daily, and the fridge is almost of no consequence in their kitchens. But in the US, it's a little different. And so Miele decided to, again, because we're so important, to them, to give us refrigeration that the Americans would love. And I wanted you to talk about that process that Miele went through to make these offerings for us.
Oh, that was one heck of a process, and I was part of it. I remember very specifically going to those design meetings overseas. I remember working directly with our engineering, and I'll tell you, I think the thing that impressed me the most was the attention to detail. Deciding, okay, how does refrigeration in the American market, the North American market, how does it function differently? What makes it different than European? And you defined it very well in that in Europe, the most common thing to do is to shop every day, right? It's very common in Europe to have a much longer lunch hour. And so people go out and shop, and they put their food in the fridge and they eat it that evening.
Good idea, too.
States, yeah, well, your food is fresher that way. But in the United States, it's very common to go to, whatever super club, on the weekends and come home with 37 pounds of salmon. And, you're not going to eat that all right there. You're going to eat some of it that night, but then you're going to store the rest. So the whole concept of large volume food preservation is really what fits the North American markets. Completely, that is totally foreign to Europe. They don't think that way. As a matter of fact, I remember one time specifically, I saw a 22 cubic foot side by side refrigerator over there in an appliance shop, and they thought it was the biggest thing they'd ever seen in their lives. It was just there just so they could say they had it.
Yeah. But
as well as I do, that it's you can get 30 plus cubic foot refrigerators, or these big 48-inch side-by-side, these behemoths. Europeans have no concept of what that's like. But it's a different lifestyle. Here we buy food in quantity, and we want something that's going to preserve it. And it's not something to keep food cold. It's something to keep food fresh.
Right.
And so that's a totally different thing. And when you begin to learn what exactly makes a refrigerator do that, and compare that to what makes a freezer do that, because they both have the same job, and then you figure out ways to make that happen. It's one heck of a process. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot too, but it was a lot of fun.
And they offer columns as well, so that you can mix and match, or you can split them up. So even design-wise, their offerings are many. What you can do, and you can have them with stainless panels, on the outside, which most people seem to enjoy, or you can customize them and put these beautiful wood panels that match your cabinetry. And with Miele, what I love about their look, this is the designer coming out of me, is that when you put a wood panel on the refrigeration, you do not see anything, no metal, nothing. So you could look at a wall of cabinets and not discern which is the refrigeration. That's how integrated their products are. And were they one of the first, if not the first, to do that as far as integration?
Yeah, because integration, what you're really talking about is the concept of full integration, meaning that the appliance, whatever the appliance is completely invisible. You cannot discern where it is unless there's a panel that identifies it. And but that's really what integration is. That's been in Europe much longer than it's been here in the United States. The U.S. we had built-in for a long time, which was really where you just had a refrigerator with a panel on the front, but it stuck out like a sore thumb. I mean, you could see it from a mile away. Integration is when everything is flush, flat, consistent. You can't tell one cabinet from the other than the handles. And that's been over there for a long time. So over here now, it is much more common, much more accepted, and much more looked for, right? Especially with large capacity refrigeration, integration is very popular. And right now, the most popular way to integrate is with steel. So, for example, when you have the refrigerator completely flush to the front of the cabinets, instead of putting that wood panel on the front, you put steel on the front, but it's still completely flush with the cabinet. So it's called flush inset steel is a very common way to put that. That is magnificent, and that has taken on a life of its own.
Especially with your higher-end European cabinets that come from Italy, let's say, that is very popular, where they still want the stainless steel, but they want that flush. They don't, because normally what we're talking about, for my listening audience, is that normally when you have a stainless steel refrigerator, they stick out a little bit, and we call them proud. We're showing off the stainless steel is what we're doing. So it's considered proud, but it's not flush. But when you're doing like your frameless or European type cabinets, everything tends to be real flush, especially the ones that you see where you can just touch the doors. There's no handle and they open up right on the cabinets. We can talk about that too, what Miele did. It makes it just a more beautiful result as opposed to having to stick out proud. So it depends on the customer. Yes, it really is. It really is. So on their offerings, their electronics have been really unique as well. And I know that they've done some of the first. And I'd like to talk about how Wi-Fi and what they brought to the table. They were the first ones with that as well.
Yep. So integrated refrigeration with electronics is, it seems like everything nowadays is just becoming more and more electronically controlled, and you don't have to be there to control it, right? So at some point, your toothbrush is going to be Wi-Fi. So it's just ridiculous what's going on. But anyway, all that being said, we're the same. The difference is we not only make our own electronics, we do our own programming. So when you look at in refrigeration, we call it our master sensor. And so when you look at our master sensor, it simply has capabilities that are truly impressive. I mean, not only can you run it, of course, with an app, a phone or a tablet or whatever, but the ability to dial the interior into exactly where you want it is really impressive. Like, let's say you pulled out of the driveway, you've forgotten to turn the refrigerator temperature down or the freezer temperature down, and you're going to come back with a lot of fresh food, right? Well, you can go on the app on the phone and hit super cool for your refrigerator and your freezer, and the freezer will go down to negative 22 degrees. So when you bring your 37 pounds of salmon back and you start putting that in the freezer, the air is so cold that the surface freezes within just a few minutes. And as a result of that, it won't spoil, right? But you can do that with your phone. In addition, you can change the temperature by 1 degree. You can change the temperatures in the bins, right? You can change the lighting. You can change anything and just dial it into whatever you want to do. You can turn the the push to open mechanism up, down, on, off. You can have it pull to open, push to open. Just about every possible facet of using that refrigerator is now controllable at the electronic or from the app. It's just incredible how far we've come in just 10 years.
And we're freezing a lot more foods these days. Right now we're doing the podcast. during the COVID. And so a lot of people, myself is included, we don't normally do a lot of freezing, but now we are. So that getting the temperature down to 22 degrees below zero, that's flash freezing. For people that don't understand what getting down to 22 degrees, think of flash freezing. So that keeps your meats fresher longer. You don't get the crystallization from regular slow freezing. It keeps all the flavors in better. It just lasts longer. It's better. So that's an important feature on a freezer. Very important feature.
The trick to maintaining food freshness in a refrigerator is steady temperatures. That's really the key. When you open the door, the system's got to recognize that the temperature is rising and it has to respond and regenerate that cold very quickly. That is key. But in the freezer, that's not the trick. In the freezer, the trick is to make sure that the food is frozen quickly. So the speed with which you go from fresh to frozen is the key in the freezer. That's why if you can flash freeze fresh salmon, steak, chicken, fish, anything like that, then it will stay fresh. And as a matter of fact, if you really want to almost freeze dry food but not have to go through that process, vacuum seal it and flash freeze it, and it will last for decades.
Wow. And then you can take it out and do sous vide.
Yeah, and it doesn't lose flavor either. It's amazing.
Right. And also the refrigeration on the inside is beautiful. We talked about how beautiful the outside is, but the inside is stunning. So, and they've done some things to make it not look really, really commercial, but they did some things to make it more heavy duty commercial. Speak about that.
Well, one of the things that we did that I am particularly enamored with is when you open up our refrigerators, we have two steel alloy plates that are very visible. One is on the back wall and one is on the door. Okay. Now, there's really nothing else out there like that, but it has so many advantages. For example, if you've ever seen the inside of a refrigerator that is completely steel, right? Sides, doors, back wall is completely steel. It's very shiny and it has a grain. Okay. Sometimes these even have glass doors on the front. Okay. Now, in a commercial setting, that makes a lot of sense because you've got 10, 12 people, 20 people using the same fridge. It gets opened all the time. So if you can look through the glass and see what's there, you're not searching through and keeping the door open. The idea is to close the door quickly. And if you can see what's in it, you can open it quicker and shut it quicker. However, in a residential setting, it's kind of a nightmare. And the reason I say that is because nobody ever arranges their refrigerator nicely. They tend to just shove stuff wherever it'll go.
Right.
That tends to create little pockets of different temperatures. And so what happens is you have this condensation that accumulates on the steel walls and it bleeds down, sweat lines bleed down, and it looks awful. And you have to clean it all the time. So what ends up happening is people buy these things because on the showroom floor, they're not cold, right? So this doesn't happen. They get them home, they make them cold. And it's like, oh my God, what have I done? So in our situation, what we did was we eliminated the grain so that it won't accumulate condensation and run down. We also made the steel not as reflective. So it helps take the sidewall lighting and diffuse it throughout the entire interior so that you have this beautiful illumination, but you never have a spotlight in your eyes, right?
Right.
And it really gives it a beautiful look, but it requires almost no cleaning, right? And yet there's no shadowing. You can see everything without losing anything. It's really a unique approach. No one else has done this. It may seem like a simple thing. Most people, when they look at it, they think it's just decorative. It even increases the R value of the walls. So the insulation is higher and it can actually recover its own cold faster. Pretty impressive.
In fact, you can even touch the stainless steel. I show this all the time and you don't see any fingerprints. And that's even on the outside doors.
Yes.
All that stainless steel, you can touch it, put your hands all over it. You don't get that fingerprints, but it doesn't look like fake stainless steel. A lot of the stainless steel products out there that have that no touch, or fingerprintless, it doesn't look right. It looks off. The stainless steel is beautiful. And when people are in my showroom and they open the doors of these refrigerators, this is what people do. It's beautiful. They do all the time. It is gorgeous. This is the most beautiful refrigerator. And
Yep.
they don't even notice that it's stainless steel on the inside. I have to usually point that out to them. Did you
Yeah.
notice there's stainless steel over here? Oh no, because it's so nice and bright. That's what I mean
Yeah.
by it doesn't have that commercial look, but it's kind of like got the commercial quality to it. And then
Yep.
the lighting is beautiful. It's the LED lighting, so you'll probably never replace the bulb, and it doesn't heat up, but
Yep.
it everything is just so well lit. It really does, and it
Well, we
enhances.
were the first ones. I don't know if you're aware of this, Denise. We were the first ones to come out with refrigeration with sidewall lighting.
No, I
mean,
did not know that.
Yeah, lighting has always been from the ceiling, the base, or the back wall. It's never been from the sidewall. So you remember the first generation, we had those halogen dot lights in the
Right?
sidewall?
Mhm.
Well,
They
the
were
new
nice too.
series, they were very nice. I believe me, I remember that. I worked on that, and I can tell you that the new generation has got LED light bars horizontally
Mhm.
put in the sidewall, and their lifespan is 7 times longer than the first one.
Mhm.
So they're 20,000 hour life spans. I mean, you'll never have to replace them, but if you do, they just pop right out. They're modular. They come right out.
And less energy too, because of that. A lot less energy. And that's
A lot less
another thing.
energy.
These refrigerators are huge. So we have 18-inch, 24-inch, 30-inch, and 36-inch columns for the freezer. And we have 24, 30, and 36-inch columns for the fridge. You can mix and match. So if you wanted to, you could have a 42-inch side-by-side, a 48, a 54, a 60, 66, or a 72-inch side-by-side. Or you can split them. You can have the refrigerator on one side of the room and your freezer on the other side of the room.
Yep.
So you have so much flexibility. You know what's become real popular in my showroom? So, the 48-inch footprint, we show that because that's probably the most popular footprint in built-in
Yep.
refrigeration. You have a
Yep.
30-inch all fridge and an 18-inch all freezer. Where we're seeing where people are doing a 36-inch all fridge and an 18-inch all freezer.
Yeah,
So now we're
54.
coming
Yep.
up with this 54-inch footprint, right?
Yep. Yep.
People love having that extra 6 inches, wide of space.
Yes.
And then these are 84 inches tall and they're 24 inches deep. So you get a lot of utility space in these refrigerators. But speaking of energy efficiency, one of the unique things that Miele does is on that condenser where it's kind of a self-cleaning thing to enhance that. Can you talk about that? Because I think this is sheer genius where they came up with this.
So you're spending $10,000-$15,000 plus on these very large, very heavy refrigeration systems, right?
Mhm.
And one of the most important things that across the board you have to do with refrigeration systems is vacuum the condenser coils,
Mhm.
right?
No one does.
They can be on the top, they can be on the bottom, they can be on the back, but they have to remain clean of dust or the system just overheats and burns out. So you spend $15,000 on a unit that dies in 8 years because you never vacuum the coils. So it's required, it's in the manuals, but nobody ever does it.
Mhm.
That's where we come in. So our system has got the way we have positioned the condenser coils and especially the condenser fan. It creates such a rapid airflow over those coils that you don't need to vacuum them. So you don't have to, and not only do you not have to vacuum them, they maintain optimal efficiency as well.
Right.
Because when they get covered with dust, your system is running all the time. You're burning energy like pouring out water, and
Right.
ours stay clean. So not only do they never need to be vacuumed, they run at optimal efficiency all the time. There's really nothing else out there like it.
Mhm. That's incredible. I mean, that is such genius. Not only does it save on your energy and it maintains the refrigeration, as far as optimum, your cooling, but longevity, but it also saves you from having to vacuum out the fridge.
Absolutely.
It makes it's a win-win for everybody. That's really very, very smart. So, and some of the other neat things about these refrigeration, you can have your hands full and you're in and out of the fridge, in and out, especially y'all with built-in refrigeration. When you're in and out of them a lot, they tend to seal or get like this compression going on where they lock
Yep.
up. So you
Yep.
got to pull on it real hard
Right,
to open
right.
it. And when
Right.
you're in the middle of in and out of the refrigeration trying to get things, prep for dinner or whatever, or you got your hands full, it becomes really annoying. Well, Miele has this decompression chamber, which I think is really, really smart. But also, I can have my hands full and kind of lean on the door, and it opens up. That is so cool. Speak about that, because that is the coolest feature of all.
Yeah, that is, there are two things you mentioned. The first thing is the vacuum release, which is a valve that opens when you push or pull on the door, and it kind of helps the vacuum go away that keeps the door shut.
Right.
But the second part is this mechanism called push to open. And that is something where you have basically a push rod at some extremity on the door, and it's built into the system. And all you do is push on the door, and it changes the atmospheric pressure inside the body, and that tells the push rod to push, and that breaks the seal completely, pushes the door open about 3 inches, and then at that point, the door is completely counterbalanced. And even though it weighs 200 pounds, you can open it very, very easily. So that's where you can get that elbow in there, right? Because your hands are full.
Right.
You can get that elbow in there and open that door. Now, but you can set it, you can change it. Like, for example, one of the things that's growing in design in this country is handleless kitchens, right?
Right.
So push to open is perfect for something like that, but you can also reverse it. And a lot of people don't realize this. You can reverse it. You can make it pull to open, not just push to open. And I actually like that better. And the reason that I do is because I would much rather take the handle and pull it once and have the door just come right open, as opposed to pushing, letting it open, and then me pulling it. I'm impatient. So when I want to get into my refrigerator, I just want to be able to pull on the handle. And the nice thing is when you set the electronic to pull to open, it just opens. It literally just, you touch the handle and pull on it slightly, and it just opens right up. It's like it's not even closed. It's unbelievable. Now you can also, by the way, set the intensity of that. And most people don't know that either. You can set it to low, medium, or high, so that it will determine how hard you have to push or pull to get that door open. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if you had a 3-year-old and a 3-year-old, you don't have any grandkids, right?
I have 5.
Right. So imagine if they discovered that
I know
your refrigerator opens when you bump into it. How many times a day do you think they would bump into it? And they bring every kid in the neighborhood to bump into it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you change the intensity so they can't really do that.
Even I enjoy doing that. It's kind of fun. It really is. It's a lot of fun. I see my customers over there after I show them, I kind of walk around a little bit, give them some privacy, and I see them playing with that mechanism. And another neat thing is when you do have it pushed to open, say you kind of did it by accident, and it stays open for about 5 seconds, I think it is. So you can determine a little bit. Right. And it just closes itself. So if you do have that worry that someone leans against it and they didn't mean to do that, no worries. It'll just close by itself. That's another cool feature as well.
That's right.
Cool feature. And then another neat thing about their bins and on the shelves on the doors and the shelves themselves, they're not plastic. So, where the things go into the sidewall, they're metal. So a lot of times you see another refrigeration, those are the very things that break off. So the bins are lightweight and a nice quality plastic, but the actual hinges, we call them drop and lock because they're so easy to take up and drop it and lock it. They're all metal, which is another neat thing that I like and appreciate as well.
Yeah, you're not going to break those. And as a matter of fact, the bins, those ABS bins, they will never fade. They will never cloud. They will never discolor. And the entire bin lifts out of the frame. So, one of the things people are very particular about on their refrigerator doors is where the bins go, because they tend to put the mustard and the mayo and all of their condiments in the same place all the time.
Right.
So once they get them set in a position, they never want to change them. But if you take out one of the bins, you're looking, well, was it that notch or that notch? I forget which one I had it in. With this system, once you get those things set, you never have to move them again because the bin lifts right out of the frame. The frame stays in place, and you've got a complete container that you can take to the table
Exactly.
that has got
yeah.
all of your mustard and ketchup and relish and mayo and everything right there, and then just put it right back in the frame.
That's
And you don't have
smart.
to
That's
worry
very
about
smart.
which slot did I have it in. It really is quite clever. Yeah.
And not only do they have these columns, but they also have bottom mounts. So they
Yes.
have a 30-inch bottom mount, which is not as popular in my neck of the woods because in Texas, everything is bigger. We have 36-inch bottom mounts, and that's where you have your fridge on top and then your freezer drawer on the bottom. And then they came out with this beautiful French door that's a 36-inch bottom mount. That's really been very, very popular. And you've got these heavy duty hinges on the doors too. So if you do put these wood panels on the doors, not only do they integrate beautifully and they're stunning, but you're not going to see over the years them slouching. You know what I mean by that? Where they kind of get a little bit out of kilter, you know, 1/4 inch here and there because of it wearing out on the hinges. How many pounds can those hinges hold?
Each one can hold 200 pounds. So, I mean, it's a lot. So, I mean, the weight of the door, the panel, the food in it, 200 pounds, that's a person, right? And, you know, a lot of times when people look at our hinges, they're like, wow, those things are massive. But the fact is that they will never, ever sag, ever. I mean, they're actually designed to fully open and fully close 200,000 times with 0 sag, which means that your door gaskets will always line up with the body, which means you're never having any leak, which means the system is running at optimal efficiency all the time.
And not only do they have all these built-in pieces, but they also have some specialty pieces. They have a freestanding bottom mount that is 80 inches tall. That's unusual. 30 inches wide. So for those like condos or smaller homes, it's perfect. Or like a caterer's kitchen, just another place that you want to have a beautiful refrigerator, but not have a true built-in piece. Those have been kind of popular around here. We're selling more and more of those. Yeah.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people that we've run into, gosh, countless situations where people are building their main kitchen and then they'll have a kosher kitchen. Or they'll build their main kitchen and then they'll have a butler's pantry, right? So it's not uncommon to have 2 sets of things.
Exactly.
You know, so
I love those customers.
Places where you can apply these.
Oh yes, yes, yeah. Or even like a little game room kitchenette. You know, there's just all kinds of things. So they even have a 24-inch refrigerator bottom mount as well. And those have been getting more and more popular as well. So they do have, oh, and I love this one piece. We have in our neck of the woods in San Antonio, we have this beautiful area called the King William area, the Alamo Heights area. It's the older homes. They're beautiful homes and people will go in and remodel. But a lot of times these homes, their ceilings are not very tall. So we can't get an 84-inch tall fridge. But we can get an 80-inch, and Miele has a beautiful bottom mount that is 80 inches tall that we can get in these homes that is that built-in, you know, beautiful, seamless, and totally integrated look. So those have been pretty popular as well. And then someone that wants to spend a little bit less money as well. Talk about that little offering, those specialty fridges.
Yeah, that's called our PerfectCool series. Before now, we were kind of really focusing on MasterCool, which is our, you know, the big 84-inch tall, the behemoths, right? But the ones that you're talking about are slightly smaller. They are more integratable. They actually, several of them actually go inside the cabinet. In other words, they don't go in a niche. They actually go inside the cabinet, right? So they actually share the same cooling system as MasterCool. They both have something called DynaCool, which is dynamic cooling. And the whole idea is to make sure that you have the right temperature, the right humidity, in the right place at the right time with no variance. That's really what DynaCool is all about. And so both series share that, but PerfectCool, that series within Miele's lineup, the PerfectCool is really designed around I'll say a more value-oriented client, somebody that is somebody that really wants something that works and is going to last, but just doesn't have as many appointed features as MasterCool does. So you
like the push to open.
Right, exactly. So you get this beautiful, beautifully integrated, beautifully performing 20+ year refrigeration system that is amazingly accurate and good at preserving food in both the freezer and the fridge. it just doesn't cost as much, but it's still Miele.
Mm. And that's a lot of times for the customer too, that just really, they're demanding a Miele product. You know, they
Yep.
bought everything else Miele, but for whatever reason, and I have customers that could spend the money, but just don't want to, don't see the need to. And they like those refrigerations, you know, perfectly fine. And they're beautiful. And we have really good feedback about it. So what do you think is going to be the new things coming down the pipe? You know, what do you see in the future for refrigeration?
Well, the thing that's actually happening right now is that more and more brands are developing cameras within their
Right.
refrigeration.
Mhm.
We're watching this. I mean, you know, if you're at the store and you're wondering, gosh, do I have enough milk? You know, and you can go on your phone and look in your fridge and see if you've got enough milk. I can see the use there. I don't see much of a use after that, but you know, we'll see what happens there. But what's the big thing that just happened that is actually being fully integrated throughout the year, throughout the country, is the new coolant.
Oh yes, this is very interesting.
Yeah, the R600 coolant. It's the first time that they're really not going to the traditional type of coolants. It's really more of a polybutylene type of, or acetylbutylene coolant. So it's called R600. We now have that. And it's very, very good for the environment. There's a lot of focus right now on the environment. So that's a big thing that's going on. Everything with refrigeration, which forever has been so damaging once you bleed out a compressor, is going away. It's all going away.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And doesn't that enhance the longevity as well?
It does. I mean, they use less energy when they run. They don't have to run as often, right? The insulation in the walls, the insulation in the doors, the material makeup of the door seals, everything is working and focusing around not having to replace that unit so often. And as a matter of fact, if you have a 10-year-old fridge and you replace it right now, you will immediately notice a significant change in your energy bill.
Wow.
It is amazing what just a short period of time has done to increase the efficiency and decrease the power used in refrigeration. You got to remember, refrigeration is really the only appliance that runs all the time. So that energy does add up.
Right. Well, guess what? Time is up again. I can't believe it. Just flies by. I know, it just flies by.
Can't be.
And you know, there's so many more things to really talk about on the refrigeration, but they're going to have to come into our store and hear about them, or go to the websites. So MieleUSA.com, really, you know, I have a great website, HomeWerksSA.com, but if you want to get, you know, to the meat of it and the videos and things that Miele has, just go to MieleUSA.com, look up the refrigeration, but go to that to discover more in the middle of the page. Don't go down to the refrigerators themselves. That way you get the videos and see all the neat things, you know, that these refrigerations have to offer. And then of course, HomeWorksSA.com. Come into our showroom. We have a 36-inch bottom mount French door, 2 of them actually. We have a 48-inch side-by-side and a 72-inch side-by-side, plus some other refrigeration as well that we're going to talk about hopefully in our next segment, if I can get Jeff to come back next week. And again, one of the neat things that we love to offer to make your homework better for you, HomeWorksSA.com. Thank you very much, Jeff. See you next week.
Thank you, Denise. See you next week.